Hello everyone and welcome to Chess with M&M. Today we will see so beautiful game happened in 2008 between the world champion Magnus Carlsen and Teimour RADJABOV. And in this game we will see how Magnus was so strong player since he was young, and we will see how he deserved to be a world champion after that match by 5 years. So without wasting time, let's just get started. Carlsen with the white pieces and RADJABOV with the black pieces. Carlsen started by e4. The king pawn opening by Carlsen. c5 by RADJABOV, the Sicilian defense. Knight to f3 developing his knight. d6 and d4. The main line, the Sicilian defense. C capture on d4. Knight capture on d4 and knight to f6 threatening the pawn on the e4. Knight to c3 guarding the pawn on the e4 and then g6 by RADJABOV. And this is the dragon variation in the Sicilian defense. And the reason which make them the dragon variation is this pawn structure. Now this pawn structure here on the king side, it seems like the dragon's head. So for this season they call it on this variation the dragon variation in the Sicilian defense. So after g6 preparing to playing bishop to g7 and castling. Bishop to e3 by Carlsen to supporting his knight on the d4, and bishop to g7 preparing to castling by RADJABOV. f3 by Carlsen, not although the black to playing a knight to g4 and attack his bishop on the e3, and also here if the black didn't play bishop to g7 and he tried to attack the bishop early by knight to g4, then the white has here so strong move and it is bishop to b5. Now the idea by bishop to b5 is bishop to b5 check is if you block it with the knight. Example, I will play knight capture on c6, and after b capture on c6, bishop capture on c6 with check, you will lose your rook in the next move. So you cannot block with the knight, and also if you try to block with the bishop, then now your bishop is bending with your king. So this knight on the g4 is now unprotected. So basically I can capture it by the queen, and my bishop is protected by two knights, so there is nothing to worry about my bishop. So for this season here, you cannot here you cannot go knight to g4 early, so bishop to g7 by black, and f3 by Carlsen, not although to the knight jumping to the g4 in the future. And after f3, castling by RADJABOV, and queen to d2 by Carlsen. Queen to d2, the idea is castling on the queen side and then pushing g4 and h4 and h5 and attacking on the king side. Knight to c6 by RADJABOV, developing his knight, and bishop to c4 by Carlsen, developing his bishop on this nice diagonal, a to g8 diagonal, and bishop to d7 by RADJABOV. Bishop to d7 clearing this square for the rook to coming on the c file. Castling by RADJABOV, and here in this position RADJABOV decided to not play rook to c8, and he played rook to b8. Now RADJABOV's idea is supporting his b pawn to push him b5, b4, and then opening the b file. How he will open this file we will see now, but the most popular and most played move, it is rook to c8, and rook to b8 is a good move too, but the best move here in this position is rook to c8. So after rook to b8, bishop back to b3 by Carlsen. The idea is this bishop on the c4 is unprotected, and there is always b5 and d5 with tempo on this bishop on the c4. So bishop back to b3 is prophylactic move by Carlsen. After bishop to b3, knight to a5 by RADJABOV, threatening the bishop on the b3, and king to b1 by Carlsen. If you want to take the bishop, take it, there is no problem. And b5 by RADJABOV. b5, I want to take a space on the queen side. h4 by Carlsen, he want to started the attack on the king side as the black attacking it by his pawns. So after h4 by Carlsen, here RADJABOV played typical idea in the Sicilian defense, and it is knight to c4. Now the idea by knight to c4 is making fork between the queen and the bishop, and forced the white to give his light square bishop. So after knight to c4, bishop takes on c4, b takes on c4, the black plans going so good. Now he opened the file for his rook. So for this season, after bishop takes on c4, Carlsen here played king to a1, prophylactic moves by Carlsen. The idea is going away from the rook's file, and h5 by RADJABOV. h5. Now here RADJABOV want to stop Carlsen's attack on the king side as he can by h5, stopping g4 and h5. And here after h5, Carlsen played rook to b1. Rook to b1 to supporting his weak pawn on the b2. Queen to a5 by RADJABOV, bringing his queen to the attack, and bishop to h6 by Carlsen. Bishop to h6, let's trading the dark square bishops and making some weaknesses on your dark squares on the king side. And here RADJABOV accepted the deal, and he captured the bishop. Bishop takes on h6, queen takes on h6, and rook to b6 by RADJABOV. Rook to b6, he want to play rook to a6 and putting a lot of pressure on the pawn on the a2. So after rook to b6 by RADJABOV, here Carlsen started his attack too by g4. g4, nice pawn sacrificed by Carlsen. Now what the idea by g4? The idea is just opening some files on the king side. So after g4 by Carlsen, here RADJABOV accepted the sacrifice and he captured the pawn. H takes on g4 by RADJABOV, and queen back to e3 by Carlsen. Rook f to b8, bringing his other rook to the attack and putting a lot of pressure on the pawn on the b2. h5 by Carlsen and h5 by Carlsen. Now here h5 is so strong move by Carlsen. The idea, you cannot capture the pawn g takes on h5, because here the white has so strong move, and it is knight to d5. Now the idea by knight to d5 here, example, if you played anything like rook to b6, or right threatening checkmate in one, then the white has so strong line, and it is queen to g5 check. Queen to g5 check. Now the king has three choice: going to the h file or to the f8. Now if the king goes to the h file, then the white here has too strong move, and it is rook takes on h5. Now if you captured by the knight, then I have queen to h6 check, and after king to g8, knight to e7 will be a checkmate. And even here, if you block it by the knight, I have rook capture on h7, and after king capture, I have rook to h1, a checkmate. So for this season here, you cannot go to the h file, and also if you go to the f8, then the white here has queen to h6 check, queen to h6 check, queen to h6 check. Sorry, queen to h6. All right, queen to h6 check. Now the idea here, if the king goes to the g8, then knight to takes on e7 will be a checkmate, and if the king goes to the e8, then queen to h8, and after knight to g8, queen capture on g8 will be a checkmate too. So for this season here, capturing on the h5, it's a blunder by the black. So here RADJABOV pushed g5. Now here RADJABOV said, okay, I will not capture on h5, and also I will not allow you to capture on the g6 and open the file for your rook on the h1. And here after g5, Carlsen played f capture on g4. After knight capture on g4 with threat on the queen. Queen back to d2 by Carlsen. Here we see Carlsen keeping eye on the g5 pawn. But the black has always a queen on the a5 guarding that pawn, so there is nothing to worry about until now. So after queen back to d2 by Carlsen, f6 by RADJABOV, the idea is supporting his pawn and his square on the g5, and knight to f3 by Carlsen. He preparing to some sacrifices on the h5 square. So after knight to f3, rook to a6 by RADJABOV. Nice idea by RADJABOV. The idea is putting a lot of pressure on the a2 square and not allow this knight to moving away from the c3 square. So after rook to a6, rook h to g1 by Carlsen, developing his rook on the g file and putting a pressure on the knight, and also developing his rook on the king's file. And also if this knight move it to anywhere, then knight capture on g5 sacrifice will be a nice idea with the queen and the rook. So after rook h to g1 by Carlsen, here RADJABOV played rook to b4. Rook to b4, the idea here, RADJABOV want Carlsen to play a3. And Carlsen here accepted the challenge and he played a3. Now RADJABOV's idea is if Carlsen played a3, and here of course a3 is not threatening on the rook because the pawn is bending with the king. So the idea by a3, by forcing the white to playing a3, is playing bishop to e6. Now here, if the white played anything, example rook to h1, then the black here has so strong line, and it is queen capture on a3. Now queen capture on a3 here. Now you can not block with the knight because it will be a checkmate in one. So you force it to capture the queen, and after rook capture on the a3 with check, you have to block with the knight to a2. Then the black here has c3. Okay, c3 threatening a mate in one on the a2 square, and also threatening the queen on the d2. So here after rook to b4 and rook to b4 by the white, and rook capture on a2 with check, king to b1 and c capture on d2. Here the white's position is so bad actually, because the king is stuck on the b1, and knight to e3, and then d1 queen is coming in the future. So the white's position here is so bad. So for this season here, here, sorry, after bishop to after rook to b4, a3, and bishop to e6, here the brilliant move in this game comes. Here I wanted to pause the video and try to find the amazing move which Magnus Carlsen played in this position. If you found the move, congratulations, you are so good player actually. Now the move is e5. e5, it's unexpected and unbelievable move by Carlsen. Now what the idea by e5? The idea, it's so simple. Now here Carlsen want to sacrifice on the g5, but the idea, the g5 square get protected by two pieces, alright? So you cannot sacrifice your knight on the g5. So here Carlsen said, now if I cut the connection between the queen and the pawn on the g5, so technically I can sacrifice my knight and then bringing my queen to the g5 and then give this king on the g8 checkmate. So for this reason here Carlsen played e5. The idea, if the black capture with the pawns or the knight, then the queen will not guarding that square anymore, so knight capture on h5 will be so strong move. And here also the black cannot capture the pawn on e4 to still guarding the pawn on the g5, because there is knight, you will lose your queen in the next move. So here after e5 by Carlsen, so strong move by Carlsen. A d-takes on e5 by RADJABOV. RADJABOV had nothing to do. D-takes on e5 and knight capture on g5 by and bishop to f5 by RADJABOV. Now here RADJABOV didn't capture the knight on the g5 by f-take capture on g5, because the white here can capture the pawn by the queen with check. And here example, if the king goes to the h file, king to h8, then the white here has so strong move, and it is h6. h6 threatening mate in one by queen to g7. And even here, if the black sacrifices knight by knight capture on h6, then this sacrifice will open the way for this rook. So queen to g7 will be a checkmate by the rook and the queen. So the king cannot go to the h file, and also if the king goes to the f8 example, here the same idea by the white, he can just play a6. He want to play h7 and h8, and the only way to prevent this, it's sacrificing your knight by knight capture on h6. But here after knight capture on h6, queen capture on h6 with check, and king to e8, and after rook b to d1 here, the white will threatening queen to h8 check and checkmate. Example here, if the black played anything like rook to c6, then the white here will play a queen to h8 check, and after king to f7, queen to g8 check, and after king to f6, queen to g6 will be a checkmate. So for the reasons here, RADJABOV didn't accept the sacrifice, and he just played bishop to f5. Bishop to f5 by RADJABOV, and knight g to e4 by Carlsen. King to h7 by RADJABOV. He want to stopping this pawn, and also he want to going away from the rook's file. But here Carlsen played a queen to e2. Give me the knight on the g4. knight back to h6 by RADJABOV, and rook to g3 by Carlsen. Rook to g3 by Carlsen, he want to play queen to g2 and then attacking the king on the h7. So here after rook to g3, RADJABOV just played the bishop to e6. RADJABOV here has nothing to do actually. He's just watching Carlsen when while he attacking him. So after bishop to e6, now here bishop to e6 move, this bishop let the control of the square on the g6. So for this season here, after bishop to e6 here, immediately Carlsen played bishop to g6. The idea by bishop to g6 is threatening bishop capture on h6 and then checkmate. Example here, if the black played anything like rook to b7 to b6 when the connection comes, of course.
2 hours later.
So welcome back, and after rook a to b6, here the white has so strong line, and it is rook capture on h6. Now after rook capture on h6 and king capture on h6, here the white has queen to g2, threatening mate in one on the g6 square. Now if you capture the pawn on the h5, here the white has rook to b1 checkmate, and even if you try to prevent this checkmate by bishop to f7 and trying to controlling this square, then here the white has rook to g1, threatening mate and mate. Example here, if the black played anything like rook to b8, then queen to g7 with check, and after king capture on h5, queen to h7 will be a checkmate. So for these reasons here, so after rook to g6, here RADJABOV played knight to f5. Now the idea by knight to f5 is going away from rook capture on h6 threat, but here after knight to f5, Carlsen played queen to g4. The idea here is threatening rook to h6 check. Again, example here, if the black played anything like rook to b6, alright, then the white here has rook to h6 check. Now here, if you capture by the king, then queen to g6 will be a checkmate. So you have this capture by the knight, and after knight capture on h6, the white has queen to g6 check. After king to h8, queen capture on h6 with check. King to g8, queen to h6 check, and after king to f8, here the white has h6 and then h7, h8, and then a queen, and there is no way to prevent this. So for this season here, after here after queen to g4, threatening queen to rook to h6, the same idea. Here RADJABOV played knight to h4. Now knight to h4, the idea is rook to h6 doesn't work here because I can just capture by the king, and you don't have queen to g6 with checkmate because my knight on h4 is guarding that square. So for this season here, after knight to h4, here Carlsen played another amazing move. Here I wanted to pause the video again and try to find the move which Carlsen played in this position. If you found the move, congratulations, actually you are so good player in the tactic. The move is knight to g5 check. Knight to g5 check, it's so beautiful move by Carlsen. Now what the idea by knight g5 check? The idea is so simple. Now if you move your king away, example to the h8, then I have knight to f7 check, knight to f7 check. Now if you played king to h7, then rook to h6 will be a checkmate. So you cannot play king to h7, so you have to capture my bishop on the f7, and after bishop capture I have rook to h6 checkmate again. So for this season here, after knight to g5, you have to capture my knight. After f capture on g5, queen capture on g5 by Carlsen. Now here Carlsen threatening rook to h6 checkmate. So knight capture on g6 by RADJABOV, trying to prevent the checkmate. But here after queen capture on g6 by Carlsen, king to h8, here Carlsen finished this game by rook to g1, and in this position Teimour RADJABOV just resigned the game. Why RADJABOV resigned the game? Because Carlsen here threatening queen to h7 checkmate. There is no way to prevent this checkmate. So if you've enjoyed the video and learned from it, Please don't forget us by the like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.